optimization and what you just can't do at all. Okay? How are we going for time? All right, okay. So the big question, what channels am I going to use? Because as we saw right from at the very start, the proliferation of channels that exist is phenomenal. So I'm very much a little bit old school, but I'm very much still a fan of the idea of the hub and spoke model. That you have a hub in the middle of all of your activity, it doesn't matter what it is, and the hub in the middle is your website. Okay? And it's not about always, yes, I would argue that a lot of the time it's about driving traffic to the website, because in the website, you've created an environment that is hopefully understandable, okay? Because somebody looking at your Facebook page is going to see your last week's worth of activity, and that doesn't tell us the story of the organization. It only tells us the story of the organization in the last 7 days. And I want them to come to my website, and they will see then the full story, the full experience, and they will be able to get everything they could possibly want. Okay? I'm not advocating, getting out of any social media, quite the opposite. I'm just saying that you want to try and ultimately get people to come to the place that you feel best represents you. And I'd argue that that's your website. And particularly for search engine optimization, and I'll get into that in a second. So web, we've got our mobile. Very, very good question that remains unanswered, I think, in 2012. Is it M-site or apps? Okay, and I also do an hour-long presentation on that very question. The jury is kind of out. It really depends on your cash, I think, because apps are expensive. But if you do have the cash, then apps can do a hell of a lot more than an M-site can do. Okay, they can be much more engaging in terms of the things that you can do on an app versus the things you can do on an M-site. But if you're at all budget conscious, they'd be pushing you towards the M-site. And that is a very short précis of what could take 60 minutes to talk about. All right, there are lots of different nuances within that discussion. But generally, budget conscious, go for the M-site. It works across all platforms. If you've got a little bit more money to play with and you want to do something creative and interesting, then get into apps. There was a mention from Victoria about them building a utility app for the Opera House, which is interesting insofar as using it to sell tickets through the app, okay, because it's a much more, in general terms, can be a much faster and seamless process to complete a purchase process through an app than it can be through an M-site, just in terms of speed of execution from yes to yes, okay? But it's not necessarily the case. You can still do that on a mobile site. But I just think that the idea is that, for example, I think is Tim from ArtSource, is he here today? No, he went upstairs as well. Tim said that you're sort of already logged in